Hi guys, good morning. It's lovely and sunny here in the UK. Unfortunately, none of us can go out and enjoy it during the lockdown. But yeah, I thought I'd just drop in with a few productivity tips this morning. My name's Jack. Welcome to my channel. I'm 26 years old and I'm based in London. I currently work full time as an accountant, although obviously at the moment with the lockdown, I was working from home and currently I'm not working at all. So I have been able to achieve quite a lot though over the last 3 or 4 weeks, and I thought I'd share these tips with you this morning if you're looking to get something done, if you're looking to achieve anything over this lockdown period, or if you just, you want tips for when you get back to work, how I get in the flow of things and how I get ready to be productive in the morning, how to sort of cut out all of the distractions. Nothing formally qualifies me to give these tips. These are just purely advice based. There's nothing scientific behind them as far as I'm aware. But as I said, I'm a qualified accountant. I've spent probably the last 2 years of my life full time studying alongside working. And I sat my last exam in November of 2019, which I passed first time. So I passed 3 of my last exams within 3 months. Normally, that's a lot quicker than I've done with previous exams, and the majority of that is based on sort of this productivity advice that I'd like to share today. 3 things that really help me just get up, get going, and actually just start my day properly. So let's go straight in. Number 1, and that is my tip: get up. It sounds simple, and it's something that a lot of people already do very effectively, especially when they've got a normal routine. I think if you found your way here at this point in time, you're probably looking for some productivity advice because you're out of a normal routine. And I think this is the best way, for me anyway, of starting my morning. So when I say get up, what I mean is follow the routine you would follow on a normal daily basis, as though you're going to work. For me, the trigger before I leave the door is that I make the bed. It's nice to come back to a clean bed, a clean bedroom. It's nice to feel like you've got one less thing to do when you get in from work in the evening. So what I do now, as I would do during a normal working day, is that I follow my normal routine, I make the bed, and that then is the trigger for me in my mind to say, right, I'm ready to start being productive, and then moving on to the next steps. A couple of tips that I've heard, people have said that actually wearing their work clothes is a really good way to start being productive. If you're working from home, for example, getting dressed up in that shirt that you might wear normally, or getting into something that's a bit more formal, that can be a really useful way to start your day. And then other people have got routines that they've scripted. They've actually forced themselves into routines. They've written up a routine they want to follow. They've stuck it on the wall next to them, so when they get up in the morning, it's right, okay, I'm going to follow my step-to-step guide of how I'm going to get up and how I'm going to force my mind to start being productive. So, point 2, write a list. So once you've got up, you follow through step 1, get a piece of paper in front of you, or your note-taking, whatever form you are comfortable with, just write a list. Write a list of everything that's in your mind that's currently sort of cluttering your focus. What we're trying to do here is to try to generate a very clear slate to start working from. There's quite a lot of confusion at the moment. There's quite a lot of clutter that can be going on. There's a lot of things that are distressing for a lot of people. I think it's a really relaxing experience as well, and a very physical form of sort of shedding that weight that's on your mind and putting them onto a piece of paper. So for example, I've got a list here. I've actually written just record YouTube video for today because that's my main goal. This is my first time filming, so there are a lot of takes and it's and also there'll be an editing process involved in that. So that's just all that's on my list today. But yesterday I wrote up 9 items of things that I wanted to achieve for this week. And I think that's a really good way of getting things off your mind, getting them onto a piece of paper. It doesn't have to be on a piece of paper. It can be on your note-taking device. It could just be in your notes section on your iPhone or whatever you use. It's just a really good way of decluttering your mind. It takes away that distraction as well. I quite often find when I'm working, if I'm working on something and I haven't written down a list of what I want to achieve that day or that week, there's things that are nagging in the back of my mind. There's things that are continuously running over and over, and they're not allowing me to be 100% invested or present in the moment when I'm actually trying to do the work, or trying to achieve something. So finally, on to tip 3, and that is to block out your time. I use Google Mail Calendar. That's what I find most effective. It's cross-device, it's cross-platform. I know quite a lot of people like to also use sort of the Apple Calendar. Obviously, like I said, if you're a part of the infrastructure, then that's great. I have a couple of devices. I don't have a Mac, so that for me is not as effective because I spend the majority of time on my laptop working. But I think there's also a really positive thing about writing on a physical calendar. A lot of people, there's design templates all over the internet for how to block out these calendars, but getting something on your wall that you write on, much like with the notepad, physically actually putting the information out of your mind onto a piece of paper can be a really relaxing experience, and can actually help to declutter your mind, give you some free space to actually be able to allow yourself to start working. You'll also soon realise that you aren't very good at structuring your time. Typically, it gives a really good perspective for people who start calendaring. I've been doing it for about 2 years on and off. I don't think I've ever got into it fully effectively, or as detailed as it could be. But my experience to start with is that you allocate far more time to the things that you like doing, and they actually probably don't take you much time because you're skilled in them, and you allocate far too little time to the things that you really don't want to be doing, or probably because it's a new skill you're trying to learn, or it's a barrier between you achieving something else that you want to get to. But unfortunately, it's a step you have to take, but it's a step that you mentally don't want to take. I struggled a lot with revision. I struggled a lot to be motivated for revision. I was never a child who revised a lot. And then through to university, I sort of buckled down in my final year. But coming out of that into the workplace, I sort of took a bit of time off, allowed my mind to refresh. It gave me a perspective. But when I came back to my final exams, I realised that I had not invested enough time. I'd sort of passed through the intermediate and beginner levels quite easily because of just pre-gained knowledge. But when it came to the advanced levels, there needed to be a more dedicated approach, and that's where I've sort of been developing these schedules and routines to help me get through those final steps. And when I was calendaring originally, I was putting in far too little time into revising for certain topics. There were certain topics that I'd spend an hour revising on and spend half an hour on another one. And you can see that in my notes that I have in Notion, which is the tool that I use to gather all my information. It's where I keep all my YouTube and blog information as well. But you can see in there, and I can look back now and say, well, I didn't know enough about that topic, and it's probably a topic that I found very difficult, or one that I didn't want to sort of approach because I felt sort of inferior or inadequate when I was doing so. So block out your time, and it can really give you a good idea of what you like to do mentally, what you don't like to do mentally, and then it also will help you figure out how you're going to plot out your time going forwards. It's a really quick learning curve, and once you've done it once or twice or 3 weeks in a row, you will start to see the benefit massively, because you will start to realise how much of your time is required for certain things. So finally, to recap, we've got 3 points. Number 1, get up out of bed, get into your routine, do the things you would normally do on a normal working day. For me, that is sort of a shower, all the hygiene stuff, have a bit of food, and then, as I've said earlier in the video, make my bed. That is the thing that I always do before leaving the door in the morning, and that then triggers mentally for me a sort of get up and go attitude. Part 2, write a list, write everything that's on your mind, whether it's something you want to achieve now or in a week's time, or it's something you've wanted to achieve for a very long time. It doesn't have to be time constrained. It's just an exercise to allow yourself to mentally declutter. And part 3, once you've got that list, once you've picked out the things in that list that you really do want to achieve, block out your time. Use a calendaring app, use something virtual if you only have it, or use something visual if that's the way that you work. None of these things that I can tell you exactly the best way to work, but I can tell you what works for me. I can tell you what's worked for me over the last 2 years and allowed me to pass my exams. And I think these are tips that can in some way, whether they're modified or whether you only take one part of this list, they're 3 things that can really help kickstart you in the morning and help you be productive. So thank you for watching. I'm looking to expand on this series. I'm looking to develop more videos. As I said, this is the first one on my channel. And I apologise if the quality of the video or the audio or anything is poor, or the editing for that matter. I'm doing a crash course in editing this afternoon. I've blocked out my time in order to sort of do some editing training, and hopefully it can show in the quality of the end product. I would really value any feedback that anyone has, whether that's a YouTube comment or, I've put a link to my blog below if you'd like to have a look at that and comment on anything I've been writing. Anything is valuable. I really value feedback, and I really value the opinions that people have on these things. And I know there's a lot of people out there who are very, very good at what they're producing, and I'm hoping that hopefully by just getting some information out there, getting my first video out, I can start to improve my quality bit by bit. And I appreciate probably the first few videos are going to be quite poor, but I would love to hear what people want to get from potentially a series on, whether it's productivity techniques, whether it's tips and tricks that I've learned along the way for sort of avoiding procrastination, or whether it's just talking about the items that I use to improve my productivity, or the items that I love in my daily life that I think help make me more productive, help get me into a good rhythm. Anything you've got, feedback, comments down below, please. And thank you very much for watching.